contact with.
Ma'am, you do understand that if you refuse to ID yourself, I have to take you to jail.
If you want to arrest me for a separate crime, you can arrest me that as a secondary charge. But it's not a charge in itself.
There's no charge initially. We're just having an encounter with you just to see what's going on. And if you would just give me your ID, I could ID you and get you out of here. Not yet, because you haven't given me your ID.
I have asked over and over for a supervisor.
You've asked me twice.
That's what they're for.
You've asked me twice.
I asked you too. Will you call a supervisor?
We'll call one in just a minute, okay?
We'll call one in just a second.
We're gonna get
a job to do regardless.
And the longer she doesn't give me her ID, the longer you're not going to do your job.
I'm going to go do my job. That's my
Let me run your ID, okay?
On September 22nd, 2023, a Metropolitan Nashville Police Department disciplinary file crossed a desk. It contained 2 sustained findings: deficient performance of duty and failure to maintain required knowledge of law. The officer named in that file believed until the moment it was signed that he had done nothing wrong. Picture a locked door. Now picture a man standing in front of it, absolutely certain he has the key, turning it again and again, insisting it will open, while the person behind him quietly points out the door was never locked in the first place. That is the entire story you are about to watch. An officer who was certain the law was on his side, confronting a woman who actually knew what the law said. Before we go deeper into what the documents and body camera footage actually show, make sure you're subscribed to Police Misconduct Case, because we don't just cover the story, we follow the evidence. It's just after 1 a.m. in the Hermitage precinct of Nashville, Tennessee. Officer Timothy Leonard is on routine patrol when he spots something that, by his own account, has never happened before in this exact parking lot. A Jeep he doesn't recognize. Not a broken taillight, not a report of a break-in, not a call from a property owner. Just an unfamiliar vehicle at an hour when
Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
I'm Officer Leonard Metro. We're just wondering what you were doing here.
I don't answer questions.
Okay, why not?
I have a right not to.
Okay, well look, you do. Let me explain a few things, okay? I'm a police officer.
All right.
Okay, this is my area, this is my zone. I'm here all the time.
Yeah,
okay?
Hermitage.
Yes, and I'm here in this particular parking lot quite often, and I just don't usually see a Jeep here.
Uh-huh.
And I was just wondering what you're doing, because it's weird to me there's a Jeep here that's usually not here. That's why I'm making contact with you.
I'm not...
If you're not doing anything wrong, we got nothing to worry about.
I'm not obligated to help you with your investigation.
You are obligated to talk to me as a police officer. Okay? I have the right to ask you simple questions.
Yes,
such as,
you do.
What are you doing here?
I have a right to refuse to answer them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Then I have a right to ask for your ID.
For what reason?
Because you're refusing to cooperate with me.
So you want to do something punitive to me?
Nope.
You want to punish me?
I just want to figure out who you are.
On video,
I
right?
didn't.
You just told me that.
Nope.
You said because I didn't want to do what you wanted. That's you were going to punish me.
I did not. Those are your words, not mine.
That's exactly what happened.
You know, this goes a lot easier if we just are nice with each other.
It would be. Why don't you leave me alone? I'm not doing anything wrong.
So then tell me what you are doing here.
It's none of your business.
Do you work here?
It really is not. Any of your business.
Do you have anything to do with this building?
I'm not breaking a law.
Okay.
Now, you can do your investigation, but I'm not going to aid you in it. Period.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, you do understand that because you're here, I have no idea who you are and why you're here.
You don't need to.
I have the right to detain you.
I'm on private property. Well, detained is the same as arrested, so what am I arrested for?
It's not the same. Detained just means you can't leave.
Basically,
nope.
It is.
You don't go in handcuffs and you're detained.
What am I detained for? What crime?
Because you're refusing to cooperate with me right now. And you have
I don't have to. I don't have to communicate with you. I don't have to cooperate with you.
Man, just tell me what you're doing here.
It's none of your business. That's all this is about. It's none of your business.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then let me see your driver's license.
For what cause?
Because I don't.
Because I don't answer your questions.
Because I have a reason.
So you want my driver's license?
I have a reason to believe that you are here and you're not supposed to be here.
What?
That is what's called reasonable suspicion.
What's the reason?
Because
I'm in a parking lot.
Yes.
So
and you are normally not here.
You can go in any private parking lot and harass people.
That's not what I'm doing.
That's exactly what you're doing.
Those are your words,
and
not
you're
mine.
pouting because you're not getting your way.
I'm not pouting.
So you're going for my ID like a pussy.
I have a right to ask for anyone's ID I come in contact with.
You can ask anything.
Okay. Can you step out of the car for me?
For what?
You're not going to be placed in handcuffs, but you are being detained.
For what?
I would feel more comfortable if you stepped out of the car. Okay?
For what?
Step out of the car.
You're not going to arrest me, so
I'm
why
not
do
going
I
to
need
arrest
to get out of the car?
I need you to get out of the car.
For what reason?
So we can have a conversation.
Please get your supervisor.
We need to have a conversation.
We need to talk to your supervisor.
And we can make that happen.
Get your supervisor. Please call your supervisor.
I will do that once you hand me your ID. I'll make that deal with you.
Please call your supervisor.
Ma'am, I need to know who you are.
Please call your supervisor.
Is this person here related with you? Why are you being so difficult with me?
It's not difficult. I'm not obligated to do your investigation. I don't care about your investigation. I'm sitting here trying to be in a parking lot, and you're f***ing with me.
I'm not. Have I told you anything wrong? Have I told you anything bad? Have I said anything? Everything that's bad has happened from your words, not mine. Hey, Moss. Is he with her?
Yeah.
Hey, sir. I'm Officer Leonard.
I don't answer questions, she tells him. He asks why not. I have a right not to, she says. And with that single sentence, the entire remainder of this 27-minute encounter is set into motion, because Officer Leonard does not accept the premise. He tells her she is obligated to talk to him. He tells her he has the right to ask for her ID. When she declines, he tells her she is now being detained. Here is the moral refrain of this story, and you will hear it 3 times before we are done. Reasonable suspicion is not a feeling. Reasonable suspicion is not a feeling. Say it again, because Officer Leonard never does. Reasonable suspicion is not a feeling. In 1968, the Supreme Court decided Terry v. Ohio, the case every patrol officer in America is trained on, the case that created the very stop Officer Leonard believes he is executing correctly. Terry allows an officer to briefly detain someone only when specific, articulable facts suggest criminal activity is afoot. Not a hunch, not unfamiliarity. Facts. Under Tennessee Code 39-14-405,
me and my partner were in body cameras. Look, she's being extremely difficult with me. I'm just trying to have a conversation with her, okay?
I can't help it.
Look, let me just tell you why we're here. This is my area, okay? There's usually not a car parked here, and I just wanted to speak with her and figure out what she was here, why she's here. That's all it's about.
Okay.
And she's refusing to answer my questions.
I'm here every night, midnight at 1 o'clock.
Okay, do you clean the building?
No, I'm here to pick this shit up and this right here and carry it to Knoxville.
Okay.
Every night. Been doing this for 5 years.
Okay. Do you guys look? I have no reason to believe that you're not telling me the truth. Okay. All I need.
I promise you, I just unlocked that door with this key.
You have a key for the building?
Yeah. I
Perfect.
Just went in and got my.
Okay.
This is my job.
Okay. And
Some
again,
people have a job.
thank you. I believe you. I do too. Now, understand from my point of view, just being the zone officer, I'm here all the time. I normally don't see a car parked here. It was just a little bit weird. That's called what we call reasonable suspicion in my job, okay? When I have that, I have the right to talk to people, ask a couple questions, figure out what's going on, and as long as everything checks out, we all go on our way. That's all this is.
We don't have to answer a single
You
question
do.
that you
You are
ask.
wrong.
No, we don't have to answer your questions.
You do.
No.
As a police officer, I have that authority.
You can ask me anything you want, but I'm not obliged to tell you anything.
Okay. Do you have your ID on you? Can I please have it? Okay. Sir, do you know who she is? Is she with you?
Yes, she's my sister.
Please do not.
Okay. I'm going to hang on to this until I get hers. So the sooner she gives me her ID, the sooner we can all be on our way.
I ain't done nothing.
What's your suspicion now? So he's explained everything to you, so what are your suspicions about me?
As a police officer, when I'm on a call and I have reasonable suspicion, I have the right to ID everyone I'm talking to.
I don't have to ID
Let me explain everything and stop interrupting me.
Unless you charge me with a separate crime, you cannot get me for failure to ID because it's none of your business.
The longer you interrupt me, the longer we're going to be here. All right?
Don't talk to me like I'm a child.
Well, then don't act like one.
I'm not.
Here we go. Again, ready? I have his ID. Because I have reasonable suspicion to talk to you, I need your ID. The sooner you give it to me, the sooner we can all be on our way. That's all this is.
Call your supervisor.
Okay, give me your ID and I will.
Can you call your supervisor, please? What's your name, badge number? Employee
This is
number?
Officer Moss. He's
I'm
training.
asking him.
He is training.
Thank you.
Officer Moss,
Uh-huh.
40111.
Thank you.
Are you
Can
guys
you
sovereign
please call your
citizens or something?
supervisor?
Is that what this is?
Not
Sovereign
not,
citizen.
Not bowing to
Is
your
that what
will
this
does
is?
not make somebody a sovereign citizen.
Okay.
That's my job.
And I believe you. Do you know why she's being so difficult with me?
I have no idea.
Okay, all I need is her ID. Okay. That's
It's none of
it.
your business.
Ma'am, what's your ID? Where is it? Okay.
Officer Leonard informs Reba that she is detained and repeatedly demands her identification, but Reba refuses to comply with his requests. Now, we will explore whether or not Reba was required to identify herself later in this episode, but as we have discussed many times before here on ATA, the Supreme Court held in the 1968 case of Terry versus Ohio that the Fourth Amendment prohibits a police officer from detaining an individual without reasonable suspicion to believe that they are involved in criminal activity. Under Section 39...
He does not have an answer. So he gives her a process instead. You're being detained. Detained for what remains, for the next 20 minutes, a question he cannot actually answer. Here is your ticking clock moment. Because underneath the mundane setting of a parking lot at 1 a.m., a real question is running on a real clock. If an officer can convert an unrecognized car into a detention, and a detention into a demand for identification, and a refusal to identify into an arrestable offense, how far does that authority extend? Tonight, it's a Jeep in a lot in Hermitage. Tomorrow, whose car is it? Her brother emerges from the building minutes later. He has a key. He has worked this contract job, hauling freight to Knoxville, for 5 years. He hands over his ID without hesitation. Officer Leonard runs it. Clean. No warrants, no history. By his own supervisor's later assessment, this is the moment the entire justification for continued detention evaporates. And yet, Officer Leonard keeps going, because his objective has quietly shifted. It is no longer about trespassing. It is about her identity, specifically. And specifically because she will not surrender it to him. He calls her a sovereign citizen. Not once. To her, and then again to a second officer on scene, and a third time to his own sergeant on the phone. Watch how quickly a legal argument, once it starts losing, gets relabeled as a personality problem.
14-405 of the Tennessee Code, a person commits criminal trespass if the person enters or remains on property without the consent of the owner. Here, Officer Leonard had no evidence that Reba and her brother were there without the consent of the owner, besides the fact that he personally did not recognize the vehicle. In the 2009 case of United States v. C, the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals, which has jurisdiction over Tennessee, held that an officer lacked reasonable suspicion to detain the occupants of a car that was parked in a public housing parking lot at 4:30 a.m. based on the early hour of the morning, the high crime area, and a request that the officer be on the lookout for loiterers when the officer was not responding to a complaint and did not observe the vehicle's occupants acting suspiciously. Citing this case, the Court of Criminal Appeals of Tennessee concluded in the 2021 case of State v. Brown that the mere presence of a non-tenant in a parking lot adjacent to an apartment building did not give rise to reasonable suspicion.
Criminal trespass requires entering or remaining on property without the consent of the owner. Officer Leonard has no such evidence. He has a parking lot he patrols often, and a vehicle he doesn't recognize. The Sixth Circuit, the federal appeals court with direct authority over Tennessee, ruled in 2009 that officers lacked reasonable suspicion to detain occupants of a car parked in a housing lot at 4:30 in the morning, even in a high-crime area, even after a request to watch for loiterers, because the officers observed no suspicious behavior. Tennessee's own Court of Criminal Appeals cited that ruling in 2021 to hold that a non-tenant's mere presence in a parking lot does not create reasonable suspicion of trespassing. Officer Leonard's entire justification for this stop, an unfamiliar vehicle, nothing more, collapses under precedent that existed years before he turned on his emergency lights. But Officer Leonard doesn't know that. And what he doesn't know, he improvises around. He tells the woman it is department policy to identify anyone he comes into contact with. He tells her she is obligated to cooperate with his investigation.
I just need to get her ID. That's all it is. That's all it is. You've been cooperative. I appreciate that. Coach who's fine. He's got a lady who's maybe a sovereign citizen over here.
What's your definition of a sovereign citizen?
Sovereign citizen is someone who just doesn't cooperate with police. They don't think they have to. They think rules and laws don't apply to them.
They do. I don't know why you think I'm a sovereign citizen.
Okay, look. Can you give me your ID?
No.
Why not?
It's none of your business.
It is my business.
It's an overreach.
It's not an overreach.
Power when you don't have any suspicion that I've committed a crime. This has become 100% your ego.
It's not.
This is all your ego.
Can you verify that? Ma'am, you understand that it's my policy of my department to identify anybody I come in contact with.
I don't care about policy, I care about law.
So the policy follows law.
I don't have to abide by your department's policies.
Which follows the state laws.
I go by the law.
Okay.
And the law is I don't...
The identity of the individual, quote, is likely to be useful in the intelligence gathering process. Additionally, Policy 18.80.040 notes that the subject of a field interview often will not furnish all of the information necessary to complete the entire report and encourages officers to submit incomplete reports with pertinent information. These provisions confirm that, contrary to Officer Leonard's assertion, MNPD policy does not authorize officers to demand identification from individuals stopped on reasonable suspicion of a crime, let alone every person that they come into contact with.
Ma'am, you do understand that if you refuse to ID yourself, I have to take you to jail.
If you want to arrest me for a separate crime, you can arrest me that as a secondary charge. But it's not a charge in itself.
There's no charge initially. We're just having an encounter with you just to see what's going on. And if you would just give me your ID, I could ID you and get you out of here. Not yet, because you haven't given me your ID.
I have asked over and over for a supervisor.
You've asked me twice.
That's what they're for.
You've asked me twice.
I asked you too. Will you call a supervisor?
We'll call one in just a minute, okay?
We'll call one in just a second.
We're gonna get.
Job to do regardless.
And the longer she doesn't give me her ID, the longer you're not gonna do your job.
I'm gonna go do my job. That's my
Let me run your ID, okay? We're going to, while we do this, we're going to TLO her. We'll find her that way. He's got no TBI, he's got no outstanding warrant, so as far as I'm concerned, he's free to leave. I'm just going to have him verify, because he said he was inside the building, so. Hey, dude. So, we were just making rounds, just area, whatever. Yep. We're making a round across the street, 800 Royal.
Yep.
I see this Jeep parked as it is. I'm just like, oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
I usually see a Jeep parked here.
Yeah.
I initiated 40 Paul Victor, go make contact with her. She's like, I don't have to answer your questions. I'm like, okay.
Detained right now.
So I told her she's detained. While we're talking to her, this gentleman comes out the door, gives me his ID. She's telling me she doesn't have to give me her ID, that she doesn't have to cooperate with my investigation. And I'm telling her the sooner she gives me her ID, the sooner I can let her cut her loose and get her out of here.
She's detained.
She's just refusing. Yeah. So she's demanding a supervisor. So.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
So that's all it is.
Is it her car?
No. I think it's his. Hey, Todd, is this your car? It is? Okay. You want to try talking to her? I'm going to talk to him.
Okay.
Hey, Todd, real quick. So you said you were inside the building. I believe you.
Can you just tell me?
No, I'm not. They gave you an update.
What's going on?
That he updated you.
I'm just trying to get you.
What's your name and full?
Badge number 409192.
I couldn't understand the name.
Officer Malone,
Malone.
409192.
Thank you.
Can you just tell me what's going on? I
don't need to do anything. I'm ready to leave here. I'm detained for nothing. So
okay.
I don't have anything to say. I don't need anything. You're not the supervisor, right?
I'm not a supervisor.
So I don't need to repeat it all for you. That's a waste of my time and yours.
Okay, well, I mean, the sooner we can be able to identify you, the sooner we can catch you loose.
So y'all are going to punish me and keep me detained because you're not getting your way.
It's not a punishment.
Yeah, it is.
You're being detained and we have a legal right
for
to...
what? What's your reasonable articulate suspicion that I've committed a crime?
Trespassing.
Trespassing?
Yes, ma'am.
How are you getting that? He's explained he works here. He's explained he worked here.
Oh, you gonna talk over me? Or can I
I'll talk. No, I'm not talking to you at all. How about that? I'm not listening to you either.
Okay. Well, right.
You're just as full of shit as they are.
You guys out of here.
She ain't gonna come out, but I'll come go.
Okay, well, I need to get her ID.
I'm not, you're interrupting. I'm silent.
Ma'am, me and Todd here, we're fine. But I need to get you ID'd. We can be fine if I can get your ID. That's all it is.
What crime are you going to charge me with?
I've already gone over this with you twice, and my partner here just explained it to you. You're here on private property.
State of Tennessee, I do not have to give you my ID unless I'm charged with a separate crime.
That's not true.
It is
You're being detained for a crime.
You're being detained for reasonable suspicion, which means you do have to give me your ID.
No, I don't.
Yes, it does.
No, RISE doesn't work in Tennessee.
Okay, well then you can be charged with resisting a stop.
No, I haven't resisted.
That's the second time you'll hear our refrain. Reasonable suspicion is not a feeling. It is not resentment either, and it cannot be manufactured by mislabeling a citizen who understands her rights. Officer Leonard tells her that if she refuses to identify herself, he has to take her to jail. She corrects him. Under Tennessee law, she only has to identify herself if she's being arrested for a separate, chargeable offense. Identification is not an offense in itself. She is right. Tennessee Code 39-16-602 criminalizes obstructing an officer through the use of force. Passive noncompliance, declining to answer questions, declining to hand over a name, does not meet that bar. And the statute making it a crime to give false information during a detention, Section 39-16-611, would not even take effect until July of 2025, nearly 2 years after this encounter. Officer Leonard is not just wrong about what the law requires, he is asserting authority that at the time he asserts it doesn't exist yet anywhere in the Tennessee Code. There is no stop and identify statute in Tennessee. The 1979 Supreme Court case Brown v. Texas draws the same line Terry drew a decade earlier. Without reasonable suspicion, an officer cannot compel identification. And MNPD's own written field interview policy, the very policy Officer Leonard keeps invoking, explicitly acknowledges that citizens may decline to answer, may walk away, and that officers may need to file incomplete reports as a result. He is citing a policy that says the opposite of what he claims it says.
Your power, when you don't have any suspicion that I've committed a crime, this has become 100% your ego.
It's not.
This is all your ego.
Can you verify that? Ma'am, you understand that it's my policy of my department to identify anybody I come in contact with.
I don't care about policy, I care about law.
So the policy follows law.
I don't have to abide by your department's policies.
Which follow.
She asks him, more than once, to call his supervisor. He delays. He runs her identity a different way. Not by asking her, but by pulling it from her brother's known associates in a database. He confirms she has no warrants. And even after that confirmation, he tells his own sergeant on the phone that her refusal to identify remains, in his words, a chargeable offense. It is not. It was never going to be. When the supervisor finally weighs in remotely, the instruction back to Officer Leonard is simple.
Protocol to ask for it, but that doesn't mean I have to give it to you.
Yes, it does.
No.
Yes, it does.
Call your supervisor.
And he's
Either
gonna
arrest
tell you the same
me for
thing.
a separate crime. Do what you need to do.
So we need to give
You
a reason.
already know we've been talking this to death.
And you want him here because why? You don't think you have you don't think you have to give me your ID?
So we need somebody better than you in charge.
Okay.
That's what they're there for.
Okay. I'll get my supervisor en route.
Thank you.
And he'll tell you the same thing I did.
Officer Leonard finally requests his supervisor, and while he is waiting for him to respond, he identifies Reba through his computer systems by searching her brother's associates. He confirms that Reba does not have any open warrants, and then calls his supervisor again, who advises Officer Leonard to tell Reba that she is free to leave.
So we've got her ID'd. Call Sarge back.
For no reason.
Yeah, but she's still refusing to give me her ID, which is still a chargeable offense.
Hello?
Hey, real quick, I've got her ID'd. I found her through TLO. She's got nothing in her.
Both of them are free to leave. 20 minutes of insistence, 3 separate demands for identification, 1 detention justified as trespassing and re-justified as obstruction, dissolves into a single sentence. You and Todd are free to leave. Thank you. She asks him directly, can you admit you were wrong?
All right. Bye. All right, ma'am. Both free to leave.
Can you apologize?
I have no reason to apologize.
Can you admit you were wrong?
I wasn't wrong, ma'am. I need you to understand that when a police officer has reasonable suspicion, the law states we have the right to ID people.
No, you don't.
We do.
Or you would be doing it right now.
Here's what I encourage you to do, okay?
Do it right now.
I already have. I've asked you for your ID at least 10 times, and you've refused every time.
Right.
So
and then you punitively detain me.
That's not
because you know
that's not punitive. So
yeah, that's punitive.
I encourage you to look up the statute about that.
I encourage you to.
Whenever you leave.
You're the one that's supposed to know.
And I do know.
Then you're either lying to me or you're ignorant to it.
Okay.
You choose which one looks.
You can believe whatever you want to believe. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you otherwise.
Bye, everybody.
But you and Todd are free to leave.
Thank you.
Following this encounter, Reba filed a complaint against Officer Leonard. An internal investigation was conducted, and Officer Leonard was suspended for 5 days without pay after 2 charges were sustained. The first sustained charge was deficient or inefficient performance of duty.
I wasn't wrong, man, he says, and repeats his understanding of reasonable suspicion as though repetition were the same thing as accuracy. She offers him one last correction, that punitive detention isn't protocol, it's punishment. And he denies it, then encourages her, without apparent irony, to go look up the statute herself. She already had. That's the whole story. Here is the third and final time you'll hear it, because it's the finding that ended up in her formal complaint and eventually in his personnel file. Reasonable suspicion is not a feeling. An unfamiliar car is not evidence of a crime. A citizen's silence is not evidence of guilt, and a badge does not retroactively create the legal authority an officer wishes he had. She filed that complaint. Internal Affairs opened an investigation. 2 charges were ultimately sustained against Officer Leonard: a violation of MNPD Policy 4.20.050, covering deficient or inefficient performance of duty, and a violation of Policy 5.110, failure to maintain required knowledge of law, a policy that exists specifically because officers are expected to know the difference between what they believe the law says and what it actually says. He was suspended 5 days without pay.
Creating fundamental misunderstandings regarding both constitutional and state law, for maintaining a hostile and confrontational demeanor throughout the encounter, and for continuing to detain Reba and Todd long after his suspicion had been clearly dispelled. Officer Leonard began this encounter with nothing more than the observation that a vehicle that he did not recognize was parked in a private lot that he routinely patrols, and he treated that simple fact as if it were a concrete indicator of criminal activity. As discussed earlier in this episode, neither Tennessee law nor controlling precedent treats the mere presence of an unfamiliar vehicle in a parking lot as reasonable suspicion of trespassing or any other offense, particularly when the officer has not observed any suspicious behavior and has received no complaint from the property owner. By immediately framing the contact as a detention and insisting that Reba was not free to refuse his questions, Officer Leonard converted what should have been a consensual conversation into a seizure that lacked any legitimate legal foundation. Once Reba declined to answer his questions, Officer Leonard's misunderstanding of the law became blindingly apparent. He repeatedly claimed that it was departmental policy to identify everyone that officers contact, and asserted that Reba was quote-unquote obligated to talk to him and provide identification simply because he had decided to initiate an investigation. As discussed earlier, MNPD's own field interview policies recognize that individuals are free to refuse to answer questions, to walk away, and to withhold identifying information when there is no reasonable suspicion of criminal activity, and they explicitly acknowledge that officers may need to submit incomplete reports in those situations. Officer Leonard went on to state that Reba could be arrested for resisting or obstructing his investigation if she refused to provide her name, even though Tennessee's resisting statute requires the use of force to interfere with an officer's efforts to effect a stop or arrest, and passive noncompliance does not satisfy that requirement. The broader municipal ordinance that he referenced cannot constitutionally be applied to punish a citizen for declining to identify themselves when an officer lacks reasonable suspicion, and treating it as a catch-all for non-cooperation ignores the basic distinction between lawful authority and personal preference. Even after Todd emerged from the building, produced a key card, demonstrated that he had legitimate access to the property, and provided identification that returned clean, Officer Leonard continued to detain both of them for the sole purpose of obtaining Reba's name. While waiting for a supervisor, he used database tools to identify her through her association with Todd and confirmed that she had no warrants and no history that would justify further concern. Despite that, he still told his sergeant that her refusal to identify remained, quote-unquote, a chargeable offense, and continued to talk about her as if she posed a meaningful threat. His repeated references to her as a, quote-unquote, sovereign citizen, both on scene and to other officers, made it clear that he viewed her legal knowledge and insistence on her rights as defiance rather than as a legitimate constraint on his power, and that his persistence was driven more by a bruised ego than any legitimate investigative need. This interaction highlights how quickly a lack of legal knowledge and unchecked ego can turn a routine patrol check into an unlawful detention, and why officers must understand that a citizen's refusal to waive their rights is a limit on police power, not a crime to be punished. Reba gets an A+ for demonstrating a strong understanding of both her constitutional rights and the relevant state laws, remaining calm but stern when invoking her rights, and for following up this interaction with a proper avenue of complaint. Throughout this encounter, Reba showed a level of legal awareness and composure that the vast majority of citizens simply do not possess. From the moment that Officer Leonard approached her vehicle, she made it clear that she understood that she was not required to answer questions when she was not suspected of a crime, and she exercised that right without raising her voice or attempting to flee. She stated her position plainly, repeated it when pressed, and refused to be drawn into a narrative where silence or non-cooperation was treated as evidence of wrongdoing. Her insistence that she was not obligated to assist in the officer's investigation was factually accurate under Tennessee law and MNPD policy, and she did not allow herself to be bullied out of that position simply because a uniformed officer claimed otherwise. Even when the officer blatantly labeled her a quote-unquote sovereign citizen and spoke down to her, she stayed focused on the law rather than trading personal shots. Her comments about ego and overreach may have been blunt, but they stayed within the bounds of protected speech, and they never crossed into threats or physical interference. What sets Reba apart even more is what she did after the stop ended. She filed a formal complaint, documented every step of that process, and published both the interaction and the aftermath on her channel. The internal investigation that followed led to a sustained finding that Officer Leonard had performed his duties in a deficient manner and lacked the required knowledge of the law, resulting in a suspension without pay. That outcome did not happen by accident. It happened because Reba understood the complaint process, she used it properly, and she created a public record that made it difficult for the department to ignore what had occurred. By doing so, she not only vindicated her own rights, but she also helped to clarify the law for viewers who may find themselves in similar situations. I commend Reba for standing firm
Let's
on her.
grade this the way we grade every case on this channel. On the record, not on the rhetoric. Officer Leonard, an F. Not because he stopped to investigate an unfamiliar vehicle. That instinct on its own is reasonable police work. The failure is everything that came after. He treated an unrecognized car as if it were on its own evidence of a crime, a position no controlling precedent in Tennessee or the Sixth Circuit supports. He converted a consensual encounter into a detention the moment she declined to answer him, without a shred of articulable suspicion to justify it. He cited a departmental policy that says the opposite of what he claimed. He threatened an arrest under a resisting statute that requires force for conduct that was entirely passive. And even after the one piece of corroborating information he needed, a clean identity check, came back, he kept both individuals detained for several more minutes over a matter of pride. She, by contrast, earns an A+. Not for hostility, there was none, but for precision. She never raised her voice. She never physically resisted. She stated her legal position once, calmly, and held it under 20 minutes of pressure from a uniformed officer insisting otherwise. She was right about Terry, right about Brown v. Texas, right about Tennessee's obstruction statute, right that a statute penalizing false identification didn't even exist yet at the time of this stop. And she didn't stop at being right in the moment. She filed the complaint, followed the process, and let the outcome speak for itself. This case is not really about a Jeep in a parking lot. It's about what happens when the person on the other side of a badge has done more homework than the officer holding it. It's a reminder that detention is not a tool for satisfying curiosity, and that a citizen's calm refusal to cooperate is not defiance. It is, in the eyes of the law itself, exactly what she is entitled to do. If you want to verify any of this yourself, MNPD's Field Interview and Investigative Detention Policy is a public document. Search for General Order 18.80, Section 040, and read the exact language Officer Leonard invoked and then misapplied. Compare it to what you just watched, and tell us in the comments, at what point in this stop, the first ID request, the "you're detained," or the call to the sergeant, do you think Officer Leonard already knew this stop had no legal foundation and kept going anyway? If this case made you think differently about what reasonable suspicion actually requires, hit like, share this with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to Police Misconduct Case with notifications turned on, because we're back every week with the next case, the next file, the next officer whose body cam told a very different story than the one he believed he was living.